Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, and this is a Humvee replacement, and it's made by Oshkosh in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And coming up right now in the Fast Lane truck, we're going to tell you as much as we can about the future Humvee. This is actually the replacement for the Humvee, right?
It's a replacement for the up-armored Humvee.
Up-armored
so,
Humvee.
Right, the actual standard Humvee is still going to be in the inventory for a number of years to come. It's in those missions outside the wire that you need a protected vehicle that the JLTV will replace that. The Joint Light Tactical Vehicle will replace those.
And why is this a better vehicle than the Humvee?
Well, this vehicle has been designed from the ground up for a number of things. One is survivability. So you're giving the survivability to the warfighter, to the individual, which the Humvee was never designed for up front. While they've put some armor on the Humvee in the recent wars and conflicts, the problem with it was the vehicle itself was never fully designed for it. So you lost your payload, you lost a lot of mobility, and you got one level of survivability, but you're never able to get that survivability from an underbody blast.
Let's walk around, show it
Sure.
to me, would you? Yeah. Obviously, I take it it's diesel powered.
Yes, this is diesel powered. The actual power plant in this vehicle is a Banks 866T diesel engine, which is based on a GM Duramax engine,
right.
6600. So the benefit of that is it's a commercial style engine that is in heavy duty pickups already. So there's already like 1 million of those blocks made. So it's a very durable, very reliable engine. So what we've been able to do is take that, tweak the vehicle a little bit to run military grade fuel. So by running military grade fuel, you've got that combined with that commercial engine that's very reliable already, you've got a great powertrain for this vehicle. So we tried using commercial off-the-shelf components where possible, incorporating into some of the military requirements. Curb weight of this vehicle in a base configuration is under 14,000 pounds. The gross vehicle weight is up around 22,000 pounds.
And that's without any armament on it? I mean, without any like machine guns?
Correct.
Right.
GVW though, the gross vehicle weight is actually with all the passengers in it, all the weapon systems and so forth. So one of the keys on this vehicle is the suspension. So we've got a TAC4 suspension, which is on a number of our vehicles already, like the MATV, on some of the MTVR and some commercial vehicles. So that's an earlier generation of independent suspension. This vehicle actually has a TAC4i. The standard TAC4, which you could see on the MATV over there, has about 16 inches of wheel travel. This has a full 20 inches of wheel travel. And what it allows this vehicle to do is go 70% off-road, 70% faster off-road than the standard MATV that's out there, which is the gold standard right now. If you see this going off-road, what you'll see the tires just bouncing up and down, but the capsule itself is almost floating across it. There's a number of benefits for that.
So is it independent?
They are full independent suspension, yeah, capable. But some of the big benefits of that is the ergonomics. So you can see the people, if they're in a Humvee, even an unarmored Humvee, which has good off-road mobility, they're still getting thrown around and bounced around in heavy off-road stuff. This, you're not. So by the time the warfighter, the soldier, the sailor, marine, whatever, gets to the fight, they haven't been hanging on for dear life. So they're actually able to be much more effective by the time they get there. That's one of the good things, the suspension. So bringing it all together, it's just a tremendous capability for the warfighter.
Now I know the original Humvees were also very loud, right? There was no sound insulation, and that Duramax engine was really loud. You almost had to wear ear protection. Have you addressed that issue with this vehicle?
Well, the vehicle, I mean, it's all relative when it comes to noise on these. This vehicle is, I guess it's one of the questions I've never been asked before, but from a sound perspective, in general, like the occupants will all be wearing their intercom systems already, so you've already got that automatic cancellation, so we really don't notice it when we're operating it and so forth. From an exterior sound, it's no louder than some of the other standard commercial automotives out there, even without the muffler.
many horsepower? Do you know the torque numbers and the horsepower?
I do. That's one of those technical specifications that we really don't provide. Suffice to say that this has got sufficient horsepower and power to do some of the most demanding work and still have a very good fuel efficiency. And we've got room and capacity for growth in the future as well.
And what are the, what does this come armored with? What's up there?
Right, what we're showing on here is an EOS medium caliber weapon, a 30mm weapon system. Oshkosh, we do not manufacture weapon systems, we do not manufacture radios. So what we like to show on these vehicles, especially for the show, is our capability to integrate whatever type of weapon system, radio system that may be wanted by the warfighter. So we're agnostic when it comes to those types of systems. So that's what we're displaying here. So we can take any standard weapon system that's in the Marine Corps or the Army right now, put it on this vehicle, integrate it, as well as other caliber weapons that aren't in the inventory right now.
How many have you sold to the U.S. Army so far?
Well, we're under contract for the U.S. Army Marine Corps for the JLTV itself. Actual quantities, I'd refer you back to the Joint Program Office. That falls under the contractual requirements. Suffice to say that we did start delivering JLTVs just this last month, September, to start the testing, and we'll continue to deliver JLTVs into the future with a nice gradual ramp up for production.
So what's under the hood? Well, it's a Banks tweaked Duramax diesel, of course, with an Allison transmission. How many gears? I asked, wouldn't tell me. How much horsepower? I asked, wouldn't tell me. But it will do 50 miles an hour, about 70K, and it will do it over some pretty rough terrain. Now I know that some of the earlier vehicles that were IED protected, and I forgot what you called that, right?
The MRAPs.
Yeah, they had a V shape
right
at the bottom. Is that what you were using here so that you dissipate the energy of the blast?
Yeah, I mean, they're all basically some of the same concept.
Right.
It just depends on the angle of that V, so to speak. This vehicle does have an underbody protection capability. We don't have it installed on the vehicle right now, but we do have an underbody plate that goes on for that underbody protection.
So it's in testing right now with the Army?
Yes.
And they'll obviously put it through their set of tests.
Yep.
And so when will it actually be deployed? When will actual troops, when will it see combat?
Yeah, it all depends on, you know, the variations of what the requirements, and they could change over time. But the current schedule right now is to reach a full rate production decision in the first quarter of FY19. So somewhere around the December of 2018 period is when they'll make that decision of do they move into full rate production, and we'll already have built a number of vehicles by then. They would start immediately fielding them to units at that time.
So you probably haven't thought this far, but I know that right now, you know, the regular Humvees are hitting civilians, right? They're being sold off, and General doesn't like civilians driving them. We're actually working really hard not to get them into the hands of civilians because of liability issues.
Well, the current Humvee is, in any military vehicle, doesn't necessarily conform to all the on-road requirements. And so that's why they made a commercial variation of the Hummer to be able to do that. And if you really look at them, they're significantly different than a standard Humvee. So for commercialization of this vehicle is designed for survivability in mind. So it's basically has integrated armor in the base vehicle. So you probably don't need it, maybe Detroit, maybe Chicago at times, but you really don't need the armor.
There's a lot of people out there who are afraid of the zombie apocalypse, and this would certainly fit the bill.
It would. I mean, there's never say never on some of those type things, but you know, right now we don't have any direct plans to do that. We're just concentrating on satisfying the military needs for delivery of these vehicles.
And how much is the tow? Do you have a tow number on here? Tow capability?
A tow capability? You mean from a weight perspective, towing? Right now, this vehicle, we have a companion trailer for the JLTV, and the companion trailer has a payload of around 5,100 pounds. Okay. So not only do you have the payload for the vehicle itself, then you have the payload for the trailer plus vehicle, and it can perform all its standard missions, either base vehicle or vehicle with the trailer. Four-wheel drive system is the ability to actually have a true full four-wheel drive system. So you can either have it in high gear when you're going faster or low.
So it's a transfer case.
It's a transfer case, obviously, yes. For going up those steep inclines, forward or reverse, we can back up them as well. So that's what the four-wheel drive and the torque in that system. That's one of the reasons for the engine, the powertrain we were just talking about, has a very, very good weight to torque ratio on this. So we get a very good high output and a low weight for that powertrain. And we've sized it with the transfer case and so forth to be able to do those severe duty issues. You know, you get that young soldier or Marine in there, gets into trouble, going somewhere they shouldn't, they'll be able to get back out of again with that full four-wheel drive capability.
Can you lock the front, center, or rear differentials?
Yes, you can lock it all up together or separate. So one of the interesting things of this vehicle is you can actually drive this up on a side slope. The suspension can be adjusted to actually raise the suspension on one side, lower it on the other. So actually this vehicle, you know, when you get on the side slope, it'll actually level it out. So it makes it a lot easier to egress the vehicle and get in and out of it, because, you know, once you get the armored doors, you get quite heavy. So that's one of the other interesting capabilities of the suspension system, you know, tied into that overall systems approach.
And how much water can you forge? I noticed you've got a snorkel.
Yeah, this actually, it's standard as built off the production line is a 30-inch fording, and then we put a fording kit on it to hit the standard 60 inches of fording. And then we can also raise the vehicle up a little bit as well.
And so it's got, does it have air suspension? How do you raise it up and down? How does that work?
We do have a high pressure gas system on this, so we can actually either raise it or lower it for transportability. So just like on maritime pre-positioning force requirements for the Marine Corps, we can actually bring this vehicle up to the ship, squat it all the way down, and independently manipulate both the front and rear, so you can get under those really tight to get in areas. So those areas where a standard Humvee, which is lower, that needs to get into, this vehicle can actually get into those tight spaces on board the ship as well.
And I think you've got tire inflation built in.
Yes, we have a central tire inflation system on this, so you can automatically go from those, you know, low tire pressures where you're in the mud, sand, snow, or you can go up to the higher tire pressures, just like in the hardball, the highways out here. What I like to say is, you know, we build trucks. You know, we've been building trucks for 99 years now. Next year is our 100th anniversary. We're agnostic when it comes to C4, when it comes to weapon systems. Our systems can integrate on this vehicle. We're capable of doing that. This vehicle, I think, is really, at this time, it's the pinnacle of light tactical vehicles in the world. You know, it's got the protection of a light tank. It's got the off-road mobility of a Baja racer. We ran it in the Baja. You can look that up on YouTube or anywhere else. We actually ran it. And we have the capability to put a command post on it from a C4 perspective. So really, this is the package. There is no better light tactical vehicle in the world at this time.
So you may be thinking to yourself, you know, when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'd like to have one of these. Well, unfortunately, they're not for sale unless you happen to be a military. But if you could buy one, it would probably cost around $300,000. So it certainly is not inexpensive. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Truck. Check out tfltruck.com for more news, views, almost everything you ever want to know, reviews. See you guys next time. Ciao.